Howdy, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Teaching Tips Tuesday. And boy, do I have a treat for you today. I am sitting with the Donna Sauerberger. To all our O&Ms out there, if you've ever purchased an O&M textbook, you have certainly heard of this woman's name. How you doing today, Donna?
I'm doing great. Thanks for just having a fabulous conference. I'm
Absolutely.
still high
Yeah.
from yes, everything that's been shared.
So what are some of your titles that you've held in your life?
I'm a certified orientation mobility specialist and a mother and a wife and daughter and whatever. But yeah, that's
You're also an award-winning publisher. I believe you have the Bledsoe Award, the Blaha Award, which are pretty substantial, if you ask me.
I must say, yeah. And it was a deafblind friend who nominated the book, so about deafblind people. So that really is special. Yeah. That's really special.
Would you consider those to be your highest accomplishments?
They help me to appreciate how. But the thing I'm proudest of is that I'm a practitioner and have been a practitioner for 53 years.
That is pretty remarkable.
And I love it as much, if not more now than I did 53 years ago. And I'm so glad I found a profession that gives me that much pleasure. And
that is profoundly inspirational to young women. So you folks out there that are feeling burnt out, if you're not in your fifth decade, I don't want to hear about it anymore.
Right. Only then can you start to complain like, what am I doing here?
So I understand you have a little bit you want to talk to us about uncontrolled street crossings today. I think all O&Ms know about them, and the general rule is you cross when it's quiet.
That's right. And it worked when we first started our profession, 1940s.
Yeah. Things have changed.
Things have changed. Back then, when it was quiet, you knew that it was clear to cross. If there was a car coming that could have reached you, you would have heard it. And I know that because the very first one of the first 5 mobility instructors, Stan Saterko, was telling me how they would take the soldiers out, the blinded soldiers, and show them that when it was quiet, it was clear, period, end of discussion. And in 1989, I think it was, my friends Dick and Lorraine Evenson and Dick's guide dog were crossing at an uncontrolled crossing like that. And they were killed. And so, we besides losing some friends, we took a look at, because they were doing something we teach people to do.
Yeah, all the time.
Exactly. That street crossing is a basic part of what we do. So what the heck went wrong? And the reason that they died is that Lorraine, who had albinism, misjudged that the cars were far enough or slow enough. She thought she had enough time to cross. But one car pulled down and did slow down for her, meaning that if it hadn't slowed down, it would have hit her. Okay. But the car behind it came around and killed her husband, and his guide dog. Right? And so anyway, so I went to look at that place. And as I said, it didn't happen because he misjudged that it was clear to cross. But when I listened, when it was quiet, I could hear some of the cars about 10 seconds away, but some of them I couldn't hear until they were 3 seconds away.
And how long was the crossing?
And it took me 8 seconds to go from when So in other words, when it was quiet, there could have been a car 4 seconds away, which is exactly, it was in the middle lane of the 3 lanes where the first car slowed down.
4 second mark.
That's right at the 4. So, but that's not why they died. But that could have been, if somebody who thought it was, well, I'll take you to another intersection where Gordon Parks was killed, totally blind. So I know he was using his hearing, and it was a 2-lane street. Okay. And he was hit by a pickup truck coming from the right, him and his guide dog. And they were hit just as they reached the 2nd lane. I mean, the details, but they had just entered his lane, the driver's lane. And so I went there a couple weeks later at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And I videotaped, and I saw nothing from the right, and it was all quiet as it gets there, Yeah. And then the camera looks to the left, and I see nothing coming, but I do hear a truck. And as I turn, the truck arrives 4 seconds after I first heard it at quiet. So it wasn't a mask. It wasn't that I couldn't hear it because of a masking sound. It was because it was quiet, but it was because, well, we now realize for you to be confident that it's clear to cross when quiet, you have to have enough warning time of approaching vehicles.
It's an 8-second cross. You need at least 8 seconds of preview. Ideally more.
You put it exactly, exactly. You have to have at least as much a warning time as you need for crossing. And so in this case, you had 4 seconds of warning for this truck. I needed 8 seconds to cross, or approximately 7 or 8 seconds. And I think that's what happened when Gordon was hit. I went back there the next night at about 8 o'clock, and I could hear all the vehicles several blocks away. Yeah.
So the sound quiet changed. What you did, what you perceived as quiet was totally different.
Exactly. So I now realize, I didn't realize this for about 10 or 15 years, that things change. I thought I could assess a crossing and then we're done with it. And then I realized things change so much that, from moment to moment. I was taking a group of, was planning to take a group of orientation mobility students, university students, to assess a crossing. And so I found this perfect place. I went the night before, found a perfect place because there was a little rumbling and noise going on behind. No, it was some kind of a machine or something. It was constant, pretty significant. And yet I could hear the vehicles way far away, like several blocks away. And I thought, this would be a great place because they'll think, oh, we can't hear because there's noise, blah, blah, blah. And so we came back the next day and I said, what do you think, guys? Can you hear? Oh, no, there's a noise, blah, blah, blah. And I was about to, listen. And so I listened. I realized they're right. I couldn't hear the cars. And so what would be the difference? Why could I hear them? And it wasn't because of the sound level of quiet, which changes in every community. It changes from like at 4 o'clock in the morning, it's 4 times as quiet as it is at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It gets louder at quiet. And that's what I think happened with where Gordon was. But why that wasn't the case when I was doing it. Yeah. It was because the roads were wet the night before, and I could hear them on that. Such a different it's not mass noise. You can hear them on the wet pavement. That's right. Yeah. You could hear that way out there above the noise. But the next day the roads were dry.
It's totally different.
So it was totally different. So I guess I want people to know that, number one, don't assume it's clear to cross whenever it's quiet. That used to be the case. And it's still the case in many, if not most crossings. Mm-hmm. It's still the case that if it's quiet, you have enough time to cross. It's clear to cross. But before you make that assumption, just listen a little bit. How much warning are you getting when it's quiet of those approaching vehicles?
So time out. Hear how long that car is coming. I perceived it at this point. This is how long it took to cross my angle of cross.
Yes.
Can I get across that street in that window?
Yes, that's right. I often ask, by the way, we call that warning time. Okay. The time from when you detected it to when it arrives is how much warning time you have. And so I'll say, and that's hard to wrap your head around. So I'll ask a student, oh, we just heard a car. If you had started to cross before you heard it while it was still quiet, would you have made it? And we do a lot of training so that they develop an intuitive understanding of the crossing signs. They don't have to count. It's just intuitive. Mm-hmm. And they have to guess, oh, yeah, I would have made it fine. Or no, I wouldn't have made it. And then you listen to samples coming from the right and the left. And we have a little flow chart that Jolene Troisi developed. And by the way, just as an aside, it's taken me 30 years to develop this. I just learned, like I said, first 10 or 15 years, I thought you assess an intersection, that's it. And then no. And then, okay, so then you have a timing method, but then no. So now we don't use any timing method. We have this intuitive understanding of crossing time and just learn to compare that to the approach, the warning time you're getting. And then Jolene Troisi has a nice flow chart as to how to, after you get a couple samples, I don't know, can we be confident that it's clear to cross? Can I be confident that if there was a car coming, I would have heard it? Or is this one of those places or situations we call situation of uncertainty, meaning it's quiet, I don't know, there could be a car coming that could reach me. And if they realize that they're in a situation of uncertainty, then they don't assume that it's too dangerous to cross. We have a little checklist to help them assess the risk of crossing when they don't know if it's clear. And if that risk is acceptable, they go ahead and cross. When it's as quiet as they think it is, knowing that it may not be, but they're willing to take the risk of that. Or no, that risk is not acceptable. And then we teach them to use alternatives. Okay. And it's not just name. Here's a list of alternatives. have a nice day, honey, enjoy your life, but making sure that they can actually implement it. Oh, you're in a situation, that's right. Now what are you going to do? You have to come up with alternatives.
I'm still stuck on what you said about the variability of quiet, that this quiet is this valuable and this quiet is this valuable,
I
that
love it,
value
Alex.
changes. Yeah.
Put that way, but you got it right. Is the quiet valuable and useful and
Yeah.
reliable, or is the quiet meaningless? Because, oh, Alex, I love it.
Big.
I love it. It's
Right.
big.
Well, so this checklist, this flow chart, is this something that is currently available to the O&M?
It is currently available, and I have to say, I'm so pleased. Jolene Tracy from the University of Pittsburgh is where I first met her. She's now in Ohio and West Virginia, but she has taken this up, and I feel so gratified to pass this on to the next generation. And she has developed the flow chart. She and I wrote an article that she's the first author that's been accepted for publication, so that'll be coming out soon. Right. Yeah. And in the meantime, I do have a self-study guide online. It's free, and anybody taking it and passing the quiz gets 5 hours free ACBRP credit. So
we will definitely include a link to that in the description below, so anybody can check it out.
Yeah.
Donna, there is one question I ask all my guests at the end of their interview, and that is, what is your favorite part of your job?
Well, when we talked about this, I said, my job, I'm kind of semi-retired right now. So I have maybe 5 or 6, 7 or 8 clients a year. So that is what I consider to be my job. But as far as my favorite time of my, let's say, what do you call it? My occupation or your mission, my life, my mission. Yeah. That's right. Is the sharing and the learning that takes place at places like this amazing conference that we're at. For me, that just like puts it all together, and sharing from people like you who are, thank you. Yes, and learning and sharing. So that for me is what's most gratifying.
Well, this conference has been spectacular so far, in no small part to the efforts that you have put in.
Well, yes, and Eileen Bischoff.
Eileen Bischoff, yes, from Florida State.
Yeah. She's been getting very little sleep these nights. Yeah. She's been really putting this together, and it's just, I can't thank her enough.
Well, thank you so much, Donna, for doing this. The folks at home can't tell how much my hands are sweating right now for being a little starstruck, if you couldn't tell over the course of this interview. And thank you so much to the folks at home for watching this episode of Teaching Tips Tuesday. We hope to see you next week.
All right. Thanks.